Hey everyone. All right, so this is gonna be part one of a two-part series, and this is basically stretches that you should do every day. Okay, so you can put this in the category of shit that you should do every day, like drinking a gallon of water, get 8 hours of sleep every night, get some kind of activity in for at least an hour, blah 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 blah. Right? So these are stretches that you should do every day. These are going to be upper body stretches specifically. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start the hands, and then we're going to work our way up to our chest and our shoulders, right? So first thing with the hands, let's stretch my wrists out, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my hands as much as I can, spread my fingers apart. My hands go down on the ground, spread fingers. I'm going to take my elbow pits, I'm going to rotate my elbow pits away from my hips, so I'm rotating my, my elbow tip towards my hip, okay? So I start in this position, elbow tip goes towards the hip, elbow pit goes away, fingers are spread, as much of the hand in contact with the ground as I can, and then I rock forward and backward. So my palms flat on the ground, my fingertips are pointing away from my knees, and my elbow pits are pointing away from my hips, right? About 10 times. Then I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to put the back of the palm against the ground. Again, spread those fingers apart. Everything's set up the same way. So elbow pits are pointing away. Elbow tips are pointing towards my pelvis. Rock forward and backward 10 times. I'm going to flip my hand over. So now my fingertips are pointing towards my knees. Okay, again, fingers are spread. This one's really easy to go elbow pits away. 10 times. Then I'm going to rotate my hand, point my fingertips towards the opposite leg. Okay, so it looks like this. So basically I'm going from this position, right? And I'm going to this position 10 times, forward and backward. Then I take my fists, I'm going to put my fists together. I'm going to start with my elbows on the ground, fists together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the back of my palm on the ground, but I'm going to bring my elbows up. Okay? So the back of my palm's on the ground. I bring my elbows up. At the top of the motion, I try and point my elbow pits towards the camera, so tips go towards the hips. About 10 times. Okay? And those are basically your 5 basic wrist stretches that 1, 2, 3, 5 basic wrist stretches that you should be doing every time. About 10 reps. Don't push these stretches. All these stretches that you're going to be doing, think of this in terms of you work out hard, you stretch easy. Okay? So on a workout, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the hardest thing you've ever done in your life, 1 being the easiest thing, when you work out, we want you out like an 8. Right? When we talk about stretches, we want you at about a 4 to 6. Okay? It should be slightly uncomfortable. Right? And actually, foam rolling should be more uncomfortable if you hit a knot or a really sensitive area. Foam rolling should be more uncomfortable than the stretches. Okay? All right, so that's the wrists. Then what we're going to do is we're going to slide up to our biceps. Okay, biceps, shoulders. So I'm going to point my fingertips behind me. My fingertips are pointing away from my pelvis. I'm going to drive my hips down. Okay, gotta make sure I stay in the camera. So I'm gonna drive my hips towards my heels, and I'm basically just gonna hold this position. You're gonna hold this for about a minute to 2 minutes, at least a minute. You can go longer than 2 minutes. It's just sometimes, you know, people got shit to do, so you can't hold this stretch for 5 minutes. But 1 to 2 minutes is good. And basically, I'm just holding this position. Okay. If you feel really intense, any kind of elbow joint pain, then don't slide your hips out that far, right? Just, you know, so instead of like, let's say I get to here and I feel this pain, and so I just bring it back a little tiny bit, that's cool, okay? So that's chest, biceps, shoulders. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip around, I'm gonna place my, so this one's a little weird, I'll do this in a couple different angles, but actually let me do this angle first. So, I'm on my side, okay? My right arm, palms up against the ground, and my hand is in line with my shoulder, right? I'm going to take my shoulder, I'm going to bring my shoulder down towards my pelvis. So I don't want my shoulder like this, I want my shoulder like this. Okay? Then all I do is I roll onto my arm, right? So I'm bringing my shoulder down, and then I'm rolling onto my arm. This is a post-delt. This is the back of the shoulder stretch. This would be, again, you're going to hold it for a minute to 2 minutes. And then you would obviously switch sides, right? I think that was a pretty good angle for you guys to get it. But just remember, take that shoulder and tuck that shoulder down towards your pelvis. We don't want the shoulder up here towards the ears. We want it closer to the pelvis. And then you just roll over top. Okay? Okay, next one. Gonna need a stick. Bonus points if you have bands. A lot of people don't have bands. The bands are a little bit more forgiving for this exercise, but you know, a stick is fine. So this one, you're not gonna do this kneeling. You can do it kneeling, but if I were to stand right now, like my shoulders and my head would be cut off, so I can't stand. I'm gonna grab as far out on the stick as I can. I'm gonna keep my elbows locked. I'm gonna rotate the stick around, all the way around, so I can touch my hips, and then I bring it back, okay? This is the one that we see people mess up the most. And what we see people do is they might get to this point, and they might bend an elbow in order to be able to get back, and then they straighten it. Or they get to this point, and then they come back, but they have to bend their elbows in order to get the stick back over the top of your head. Don't bend your elbows. You have to keep your arms straight, right? So you might just do this. You might just get to here, and you say, you know what? That's enough of a stretch. Totally fine. This one you're going to do for reps. So this one's going to be 10 to 20 reps. Okay? If you don't feel a big stretch, or if you're able to come all the way down to your pelvis and then back up, and you're like, oh, that's pretty easy. You slide your hand in a little tiny bit. Just a little tiny bit. You're basically going to slide one hand in. So if I'm all the way out, I'm going to go one fist distance in just on one side. I don't go a fist distance in on both sides, right? One fist distance in on one side if it's too easy. Okay, 10 to 20 times. And again, all you're doing is making a big circle back down to the pelvis, and then a big circle back. Okay? Last one, pretty easy in all reality. This one, we're going to use the wall, right? So I gotta have to tilt the camera a little bit, so bear with me. Okay, so this is actually a series, but this is going to be the last one for upper body stretch. You're going to put your hands against the wall, right? So your fingers are spread, your hands are against the wall, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pelvis back, so my hands are against the wall. It's not a great angle. Let me see if I can get a different angle for you guys. Oh yeah, oh yeah! Okay, hands go against the wall. Fingers are spread. Feet are a little bit behind the hips so that I'm angled into the wall. I'm going to push my hips back. I'm going to think about driving my chest down. So chest goes to the ground. Arms are straight, elbows are locked. You got 10 to 20 of those. Then you go one hand. So now you're going to get a little rotation. So as I drop down, I'm going to rotate a little bit. That's just natural. Go ahead and let that happen. You're going to get 10 to 20 of those. Okay? You're going to take your opposite hand. You're going to reach through. And then up. 10 to 20 of those. And the last one, obviously you do both sides. Last one, you're going to stay nice and tall. Still leaning into the wall. You're going to rotate away. Okay? So my toes are pointing away from the wall. And then I'll rotate towards my arm and try and take my shoulder and touch my elbow. Then I go other way. Then I go shoulder to elbow. Again, this is going to be about 10 to 20 times. Just give you the opposite side. So I rotate away. All of my palm is on the wall. And I rotate towards. I'm trying to take my left shoulder to my right elbow, keeping this arm straight. All in all, these stretches should take you about 10 minutes maybe to do, maybe less. And this would be something that you'd want to try and do every single day, right? All right, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll hit you guys with the lower body stretches in the next video.